Good morning, people. Welcome back to Daily Red Devil for all of your latest Manchester United transfer news and talk. I hope everyone is doing well on this Wednesday morning. As always, we've got an absolutely massive show for you guys today. But before we jump into that, please do smash a like on the video and please do subscribe to the channel if you are new. So, on the show this morning, we are going to be talking about a report that came out late last night saying that Sheikh Jassim is set to complete a £6 billion takeover of Manchester United. We will get into that. We're also going to be talking a little bit about Dean Henderson. We've got an update for you on that one. Mason Mount, Harry Maguire, Pavard, Brandon Williams, Rafael Varane, Altay Bayindir, the new goalkeeper that looks set to come in. We've got so much to get into on the show today, so do make sure you get involved in the comment section. I do try and make it as interactive as possible. Right, let's start off with Brandon Williams really quickly then. Obviously, we brought you this story last night saying that it looks like he was going to move to Ipswich on loan, which is obviously where Kieran McKenna is the manager. Now, we've had a bit more clarity come out on this situation since we spoke last night. And Laurie Whitwell is reporting that apparently it will be a loan with an option to buy. So that's better than nothing, isn't it? Last night we thought it was just going to be a loan. But it looks like there will be some sort of option for Ipswich Town to make it a permanent deal. Hopefully this one happens soon and hopefully Brandon Williams goes there. Hopefully he does well and hopefully, you know, they turn it into a permanent transfer because I don't think he has a future at Manchester United. They are in advanced talk, so we do expect this deal to happen in the next couple of days. I will, of course, keep you updated on that one. As soon as we get the full confirmation, I will, of course, bring you that bit of news. But yeah, let me know how you feel about that one. Are you sad to see Brandon Williams go? Do you think it's the right decision? I think it's the right decision. And with the option to buy, that's really good. Hopefully it's somewhere around £5 million. I think that would be fair. Obviously, Ipswich Town are in the Championship, aren't they? I think they had quite a good season last year. So yeah, good move for him. I think he'll do well there. I think it's his level. So I wish him all the best. Wasn't good enough to play for Manchester United, but yeah, let's hope he goes there and does well. Right, let's move on to the next story, though. Let's talk a little bit about Mason Mount really quickly then. So, unfortunately, we've got some bad news on the Mason Mount front. So, apparently, he is injured. He picked up an injury against Tottenham and is going to be out until after the international break. So, there'll be no Mason Mount for the Nottingham Forest game. And it doesn't look like there'll be any Mason Mount for the Arsenal game either. So he's going to be out for around 2 games and will return after the international break, which is mid-September, I think. So I'm not entirely sure what's happened here. I don't know what the injury is. I've tried to find out, but I couldn't see anywhere what the injury was. I'm just going to see if anything's come out this morning since last night it was still quite inconclusive. Okay. Yeah, it doesn't really say anywhere what his injury is. It just says it's a minor injury, so I'm not sure what to think about that one. Obviously, it's a shame because Mason Mount, I know some people don't like the signing. Some people are disappointed we bought him. Okay, I get that. But he did actually really help our pressing. And Eriksen can't do what Mason Mount does. He can't press. So who's going to come in Mason Mount's position? That's the big question. Is it going to be McTominay? Is it going to be Eriksen? I mean, there isn't really anybody else, is there? So it'll be interesting to see how we line up against Nottingham Forest on Saturday. Maybe it will work better. It probably will, I think, because I don't think Mason Mount, Casemiro and Bruno has worked very well so far this season. I think it's been a little bit unbalanced, let's call it. Let's be respectful. It's been a little bit unbalanced. Casemiro's been isolated on his own, and we need somebody more defensive to play next to him. Because in the Premier League, every other team's midfield are really strong and physical, and you've got Mason Mount and Bruno so far up the pitch, and Casemiro's just left isolated on his own. So we'll have to wait and see how the game goes on Saturday. Obviously, it's a shame that he has got injured because he hadn't really even started playing well yet, and you know this has kind of disturbed his run into the team, but obviously it is what it is. There's not really too much we can do about it at this moment in time. But do let me know in the comments section, who would you play instead of Mason Mount on Saturday? Obviously he's not available, so we can't play Mason Mount. Who are you playing in his place? Let me know in the comments section below. Yeah, let me know what your thoughts are. Who are you playing instead of Mason Mount? Right, the next story we are going to talk about this morning is we're going to talk a little bit about the goalkeeper situation quickly. So, obviously, we spoke last night about Dean Henderson looking set to move to Crystal Palace. Now, we've had a bit of clarity on what the deal will be. This has come out late last night, and the story goes as follows: Henderson's move to Palace will be a loan with an obligation to buy at the end of the season for something around £15 to £20 million. So, at least we've got a bit of clarity and a bit of verification on what the actual fee will be. And it looks like £15 to £20 million. I mean, it's not very good, is it? But what do we really expect? What do we really expect? I mean, I would expect 20 to 30 million pounds for Dean Henderson. 15 to 20. It's not great, but I know a lot of people don't want him in the club anymore. A lot of people think he needs to leave. A lot of people obviously aren't happy with the comments that he made in that TalkSport interview last season. So this is obviously the best move for him. We let him go. Hopefully we bring in some money next season, 15 to 20 million. That's what's being reported this morning. And then we can go and reinvest that money in somewhere else. Now, in relation to the new goalkeeper, we did speak a little bit about this again last night, but we have had a bit of clarity on the situation here. So Sky Sports News are reporting this morning that Manchester United have now agreed a £4.2 million deal to sign Fenerbahce goalkeeper Altay Bayındır. It goes on to say his arrival depends on Dean Henderson's departure from United, with Crystal Palace now the most likely destination. So it looks like he will be coming in as the replacement. I watched a couple of clips about him. He looks good. He looks a lot better than the goalkeeper from Benfica, I think. 25 years of age. He's the Turkish national team goalkeeper. Had a really good season for Fenerbahce last season. So for £4.2 million, I've got absolutely no issue with that whatsoever. We obviously sold Matic Pavard for €9 million, I think it was, which is about £8 million. So we've made about £4 million if you look at it like that. You sell Kovar for 8 and you bring in a better goalkeeper for half of that amount of money. So I have no issue with that whatsoever. Obviously, we'll get some money for Dean Henderson next summer. A good bit of business here from Manchester United. I know it's not a midfielder. I know it's not a striker, but you know, it still is important. So if this is our last signing of the window, I'm going to be fuming, put it that way. But at the moment, it does look like we will sign some more people. Right, let's talk a little bit about this takeover story then, shall we? But before we do that, everybody please smash a like on the video and please subscribe to the channel if you are new. We're only 10 subscribers away from... what are we 10 subscribers away from? 14,700. So let's see if we can hit that. Let's see if we can hit 15,000 by the end of the video. Why not? Right, the takeover story. Now, this is coming out from... it originally came out from Neil Custis, who is a journalist in the UK. And since then... Sky Sports have been talking about it. There's an article up on the Manchester Evening News as well at the moment. So it's starting to pick up some momentum now. The story did break. It was about 11:30 last night. I was in bed and then I just woke up this morning to this story. So the story is as follows. I'll go through all of it with you so we can talk it through together as a community. Now, where is it? So the headline is that Sheikh Jassim is set to win a £6 billion Manchester United takeover race as date for the takeover is finally revealed. So this is what came out last night. It says Sheikh Jassim's team are now completing their due diligence on the club before they end the 18-year reign of the loathed the Glazers. It goes on to say that the Glazers did want to continue holding shares, but were warned by senior Manchester United figures there would be a huge backlash from the fans. Okay, all of that sounds good. And then it goes on to also say Sheikh Jassim is now set to complete his full £6 billion takeover of Manchester United by mid-October. A date is penciled in and... A date is now penciled in and an announcement could be made as early as next month. So now people are probably thinking, Neil Custis, who is this person? Is he reliable? He's been really, really good around the takeover stuff so far. And I did a bit of research on him after the news broke, just to get a bit more clarity on him. And he is very well connected with Manchester United. If he was talking about another club, I don't really think he's that reliable. But for Manchester United, he has got some really good sources there. And he was also reportedly a very good friend of Ed Woodward, who's obviously a shareholder at the club as well. Ed Woodward owns, I think it's 0.5% of Manchester United. He got it as some part of the deal when the Glazers let him go. So yeah, Neil Custis... Generally, not the most best reporter in the world, in my opinion, but around Manchester United news, he is quite reliable. So yeah, let me know what you think about this story in the comments section below. I think that the timing of it is interesting, let's say. Obviously, there's a massive protest planned for the game on Saturday against Nottingham Forest. We've just had the absolute disgraceful situation around Mason Greenwood and the handling of it. This is probably, at this moment in time, one of the lowest points of being a Manchester United fan, right? With everything that's going on, the lack of transfers, the lack of outgoings, the lack of clarity with the takeover, the poor start to the season, the Mason Greenwood situation, like everybody's morale at the moment is at rock bottom. I think we'd all agree with that, right? So I think that this will move over to the Glazers. They're not stupid, okay? Well, they are stupid, but you know what I mean. They must be able to read the room at the moment and think they want us out. The club's in an absolute mess. So yeah, I think it is a good time for them to sell and a good time for them to kind of give up on the project. Now, if you look at it on the flip side, you could say, well, they've just put this story out because they want to try and stop people protesting on Saturday. That is also an option, of course. Of course, that's an option. I'm not going to be stupid. I'm not going to sit here and say they're 100% going, 1,000% sure, because you can never be 1,000% sure until Manchester United put up one of those club statement pictures and it goes to their official website. Nothing can be said for sure. But as I said, the story came out late last night, and since then, Sky Sports have been talking about it. Manchester Evening News have been talking about it. And if you want my honest opinion on this, which you might do, you might not, I've said to you guys for months and months and months, I think they're still going to sell. I'm confident they're going to sell. If you add up all of the pieces of the puzzle, you look at the actual finite details of Manchester United, you look at how much debt we're in, how much it's going to cost to do the stadium, how much you're going to have to spend on the team, on Carrington. They don't have the money to do it. We know that. They haven't put a penny of their own money in 18 years. How are they going to spend 2 billion on a stadium? How are they going to spend probably half a billion to $1 billion on players? How are they going to clear the debt? They're not able to do any of these things. And the way that Manchester United is at this moment in time, it is so toxic. It is. Some people are saying Erik ten Hag out. Some people are, do you know what I mean? Like, there's such a bad feeling around the club at the moment that if they're going to sell, now is the moment to do it. If we'd have won our first 2 games convincingly, if we'd have just gone and signed loads of really good players, maybe they would be staying. But if you actually look at our transfer window this summer so far, it's not been good, has it? No one thinks it's been good. It's a typical Glazers transfer window. They're spending the absolute bare minimum they can without having to actually spend any of their own money. They're only spending money that they can use from our profit. So it's a classic Glazers transfer window. And I think that now is the time. I've said this for months. I think they'll sell once the transfer window closes. Maybe a deal's already been agreed. That's what Neil Custis is reporting, that a deal has been agreed. And maybe they're just going to announce it once the window closes, because announcing that you've got a new owner in the middle of a transfer window is probably the worst possible thing you can do. It's way better to wait until the end of the window, wait until the window's closed, and then announce it. But yeah, let me know how you feel about this story this morning. Obviously, it did come out last night, and we are now starting to see more and more journalists talk about this same story. And I do think it does have some legs, and that's just probably based on my own feeling inside that I think this is going to happen. Whether or not it will, obviously I'm not the Glazers, I can't tell you for sure, but that's up for you to work out yourself. So the story goes on to say, the Qatari royal has fought off rival bidder, British billionaire Sir Jim Ratcliffe, who was willing to allow the Glazers to retain a small stake in Manchester United. It goes on to say Sheikh Jassim plans to upgrade both Old Trafford and the club's Carrington training ground while continuing the investment in the team. So all of those 3 things that we've just listed there are things that the Glazers can't do. They don't have the money to do that. They don't have the money for the stadium. The stadium's leaking. When you go into the toilets at Old Trafford, there's wee coming out of the urinals. It's disgusting. It really is. So when you add all of these pieces of the puzzle together, the only logical option you have is that the Glazers leave. We know there's all the issues around Sir Jim Ratcliffe's bid, around the shareholders supposedly trying to sue them and all the rest of it. So if you actually think about it and you take all of emotion away from it, it makes sense for them to go. £6 billion. Just let that sink in. £6 billion they're going to be paid, right? Manchester United's actual value is probably around half of that. They're being paid double what the club's actually worth. So the club was valued by Forbes in August 2023 at 3.5 billion. That just says it all, doesn't it? 3.5 billion, and that's dollars. So another finance people were saying that it was worth 2.4. So you get my point here. 6 billion is an absolutely ridiculous amount of money for Manchester United. It is. Now, we don't know whether that's including the debt. Obviously, there's £1 billion worth of debt. Is that 6 billion plus the debt or not including the debt? We don't know at this point. I would hope for Qatar's sake that that's including the debt, because if they're having to pay them 6 and then clear the debt an extra billion, like, it's going to end up costing them about £12 billion. 6 for the club, $1 billion for the debt, 2 to 3 for a stadium, probably 1 billion on players over the next few, 3 to 5 years. Like, it's going to cost them so much money. So hopefully that 6 is including the debt, but obviously at this point we don't know. Another really important bit of information that came out as well was apparently Sheikh Jassim will not take any dividend payments from the club like the Glazers did. Now, we all kind of knew that already, but it's good to get clarity on that, because that's one of the things that annoyed me the most. The fact that they were taking money out of the club. For anybody who's unaware, in the last 18 years, the Glazers have taken out £2 billion, whether that be from debt repayments, dividends, loan interest. £2 billion. That's how much they've taken from us. So any rival fan who comes along and says, oh, you're a hypocrite, you know, you slagged off Manchester City and all the rest of it. It's complete rubbish. It's complete rubbish, because imagine if we had that 2 billion in our pockets now. Imagine what we could have done with that money. It would have been approximately an extra 100 to 120 million pounds per season that could have either been spent on players, right? Imagine if we had 120 million pounds extra per season, what we could do with that money. Or even what Old Trafford would look like, what Carrington would look like, you know, who our directors of football would be. Like, we're living in the dark age at Manchester United. We really, really are. But let me know how you feel about it in the comment section. Do you think they're going to go? Does this story give you any hope? I think it does give me hope. And I've thought, even though we've had, you know, contrasting stories, we'll probably get a story this afternoon saying Sir Jim Ratcliffe's going to win. You know, that's just how it is with Manchester United. But I still feel confident that they're going to sell, and I think they will sell to Qatar because it's the best option on the table, and we know that they don't have the money to do it. 6 billion. I think they bought the club for 500 million, was it? And you know the thing you have to remember that is, right? They didn't even buy the club. Their father did. They bought it for 790 million in 2005, but their father bought it. So it's not even for these 6 siblings. It's just pure profit, 100% profit. They haven't spent a penny of their own money. They didn't spend a penny of their own money to buy it. They got it on as a debt from the bank. Pure profit, £6 billion in the bank. Now, there was one thing I wanted to bring into it just whilst we round up that bit about the takeover. Now, we spoke about this story a couple of weeks ago. So the mayor of Manchester, Andy Burnham, was being asked about the takeover and how he felt about Qatar and all the rest of it, right? So Andy Burnham came up with the following quote, which I know upset a lot of people in this chat, but I'm going to read it out again anyway. He says, the journalist asked him, how would you feel about Qatar ownership at Manchester United, okay? And he says, no one feels comfortable about the takeover, okay? So he's not comfortable. The mayor of Manchester is not comfortable with Qatar owning Manchester United. Okay, that's fine. That's your opinion. Right, now get ready for this. The mayor of Manchester has been talking about what Manchester City's owners have brought to the city. And he says, go to East Manchester now and look at photographs of it from 30 years ago. And a large amount of the investment has come from the owners of Manchester City. They've been huge partners for the city and they've improved a lot of lives here. Did anybody just hear that? I mean, has anybody ever heard of double standards? He's saying no one feels comfortable about Qatar taking over Manchester United. Yet when he's asked about Manchester City, this was in the last couple of days, he's literally said, the Manchester City owners have been huge partners for the city and they've improved a lot of lives here. I mean, what an absolute load of rubbish that is. And it just shows the pressure and the media spin we're going to get against Manchester United. It's going to be unbearable for a bit, but you've just got to remember that this is the way that football is going at the moment. Newcastle are owned by Middle East. Manchester United are. Like, that's just the way that football... Sorry, Manchester United aren't yet. Manchester City are. That's just the way that football's going. And it's going to be absolute outrage. When this gets announced officially, every single time you turn on your telly, it's going to be, is this okay? There's going to be human rights debates. There's going to be all sorts of things going on. And it is just double standards. And that's just the thing you have to remember, because Manchester United is this great legacy club of so much history, whereas Manchester City just simply aren't, are they? But yeah, let me know what you think about that. Very, very strange. Right, let's move on to the next bit of news, though. Everybody who's just joined in the last few minutes, please do smash a like on the video, and please do subscribe to the channel if you are new here. I'm just going to drop a link in the chat to do that. Right, okay, let's carry on with the show. Now, I wanted to bring this into the chat as well. Now, some of you might get a little bit bored of this, but I think it's important. I want to, on this channel, as you know, try and bring positivity, try and bring a bit of calmness in the fan base, because at the moment it's just a complete mess. It's all over the place. Now, I know some people before were saying get Erik ten Hag out. There was people reacting really badly after that Tottenham game. So every show, I'm trying to bring in a bit of information around what's going on at Manchester United to try and give us a bit of peace. So I saw this infographic come up on BBC Sport last night, okay? So the data is this. It's Erik ten Hag's progress. They're looking at how he's done in his first 40 games at Manchester United in the Premier League alone, okay? So in his first 40 games, this is comparing to other managers. Pep Guardiola, in his first 40 games at Manchester City, got 82 points. Erik ten Hag, 78. So Erik ten Hag only has 4 less points than what Pep Guardiola achieved in his first 40 games at Manchester City. Jurgen Klopp, 71 points. So Eric has 7 more points. 7 more points than Jurgen Klopp. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer had 68 and Mikel Arteta had 63. So just try and remind yourselves of that when people are getting... I understand it's frustrating. You want your team to win games, but the energy needs to be forced towards the Glazers. It needs to be forced towards the owners. It shouldn't be put on the manager. The manager, I think, is doing everything he can. He's got his hands tied. And I just think when you see stats like this come out, it just reminds us how much of a good job he's actually done. So everybody, please just try and stay positive. I understand it's frustrating. I understand you want to win football matches because that's what we're all here for. But, I understand that people are frustrated about the lack of system and all the rest of it. But for me, you've got to give him more time, 100%. You've got to wait and see what happens in the next couple of seasons. If by next season we're not playing Erik ten Hag football, then obviously that's a concern. But you've got to remember that these people were trained by Ole Gunnar Solskjaer for 2-3 seasons, and he wasn't even a proper manager. So do you really expect them to be coming in and be playing fluent, prime Barcelona-style football within a month? It just doesn't work like that. And people will say, oh, what about Brighton? What about Brighton? Brighton doesn't have any pressure. Brighton can play all-out attacking football, and if they win, everybody says they're amazing. And if they lose, everybody says they're amazing as well. Whereas Erik ten Hag, after 2 matches last season losing, he was marched into the studio by Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville, and they were interrogating him about whether it was acceptable to lose the first 2 games as a Manchester United manager, and is he ready for the pressure and all of this stuff. You don't get that at the Brighton manager. You don't get that even as probably the Newcastle manager or the Aston Villa manager. Or even the Manchester City manager, probably. Maybe now you would, but not when Pep first came in. So I just want everybody to remind themselves of that. And I'm going to try and keep spreading this positivity because I know there is a bit of negativity around the club. At the moment, there's a bit of negativity around how we're playing on the pitch. And yeah, I just want to remind everybody of how well Erik ten Hag has done so far. Anyway, let's move on to the next story. So apparently Manchester United are set to play Burnley today in a behind closed doors friendly at Carrington. Now, I thought this was quite interesting because do you think that our players don't look very fit? Let me know in the comment section. I have thought that a little bit in the last couple of days. Like after rewatching the games yesterday, they do look a little bit like they're struggling after 20 or 30 minutes. So maybe the reason for this friendly today is to try and build up some match fitness because they look a little bit off it, don't they? I don't know whether that's because of all of the travelling to America. They flew all over America, didn't they, for that tour? And we know that Erik ten Hag doesn't like those types of commercial things. He likes to be in one place. He likes to focus with his players and have as much time on the training field as possible. And I think that we didn't really get that this pre-season. It was very commercial. It was very, let's go here, let's go there, let's go to Las Vegas, New York. And I do think it probably did have an impact on the playing squad. But yeah, we will, of course, let you know the result of this Burnley game. I'm not sure what time the kickoff is yet, and I don't think it's going to be on telly, but there will obviously be kind of running commentary of who scored and who played and all the rest of it. So I will bring you that news later on today. But yeah, I think they all do look a little bit unfit. I do. And I think getting in some more minutes will be a massive help, especially for people like Anthony Martial. It'd be interesting to see whether... oh god, some of the stuff coming out on Twitter today. Yeah, so I'll keep you updated on that one. Someone just put this on Twitter. This is amazing. So someone's written breaking news: Sheikh Jassim has been spotted at Carrington this morning, assisted by Kath, who's the receptionist, into the cafeteria where he was reported to have ordered a full English breakfast before meetings with officials. I mean, that is funny, isn't it? I love that. Yeah, I love that. Right, anyway, let's move on. So we've got a little bit of an update on Benjamin Pavard for you really, really quickly. So I know a lot of you are kind of done with this deal. Fabrizio Romano is reporting the following. In the last 48 hours, Manchester United have told the agents of Benjamin Pavard they are no longer in the race to sign him and that he can join Inter Milan because they are not negotiating with any other club for Harry Maguire. They now expect Maguire to stay. So it looks like the Maguire situation has reached its conclusion. It looks like we're stuck with him. It looks like he's not going anywhere. Fabrizio also says only a bid of around £30 million can change the situation for Harry Maguire. At the moment, the situation is quiet. So yeah, Benjamin Pavard is done. He's not coming to Manchester United. It's as good as over. I still have this little glimmer of hope inside me that a team comes in the last, well, we've got a week left of the window now, the last kind of next week of the window, and gets it over the line for Harry Maguire. I'm thinking Aston Villa. I'm thinking they need a replacement for Tyrone Mings, who's just got injured. I'm just praying, I'm hoping that Harry Maguire sees his senses and agrees to leave the club. £30 million is a lot of money, but I think it's realistic for somebody of his experience, somebody of his level. But yeah, let me know on that one. Do you think Harry Maguire will stay at the club? And do you think, how would you feel about this Benjamin Pavard one? Do you think it's a big loss? Are you upset about it? You know, are you really, really annoyed that Manchester United didn't get this deal done? Or do you think that, you know, we'll go and get somebody better next season? I think we can get someone better next season. Obviously, I do want Harry Maguire to go, but I'm not that bothered about Benjamin Pavard, really. I would have preferred Jean-Clair Todibo. I would have preferred Antonio Silva from Benfica. Even someone like Tomori. Like, someone like that would have been much better for me personally. But yeah. Right, let's move on to Sofyan Amrabat. Everybody who's just joined in the last few minutes, please do smash a like on the video and please do subscribe to the channel. We're on the road to 15k subscribers. We're very, very close to it now, so please go and subscribe if you haven't already. Now, you know, we did on our video last night, we were talking about what should we rename Manchester United, and we had Interested FC, In Talks FC. We had some really, really great names. So thank you so much for all of them. I thought that was a bit of fun in the chat. So we've had a story come out this morning from an Italian newspaper, okay? And we've got a whole new terminology that I've never heard before. So they're reporting that Erik ten Hag has made an express request. Express request? What the hell's an express request? Okay, anyway, let me continue. Erik ten Hag has made an express request to Manchester United Chiefs to complete a deal for Sofyan Amrabat amid interest from other clubs. So is that like, you know, when you go to the post office or whatever that is called in what countries you're from, right? You go to post something and they say, oh, would you like to do the second class, first class, or express? So is it like that? I don't know. I've never heard that before. Express request. They literally just make up words every single day, don't they, to try and continue the story of a transfer. They're in talks, they're negotiating, you know, they're advanced, and now we've got express request. Whether this means anything, I don't know. Obviously, we did speak about Amrabat at length on the show last night, so I won't delve on it for too long. But ultimately, the situation at this moment in time is that Fiorentina have set a 72-hour deadline for Manchester United to complete this deal. That 2 hours started yesterday, so it needs to either be today or tomorrow. If we don't see a bid for Amrabat by the end of this week, I think we can probably say that the deal's over, and I think we're going to be looking at Ryan Gravenberch. I've been very, very confident about Amrabat for weeks, but we do know that there are other clubs interested in his signature now. We know that Atletico Madrid are interested. We know that Liverpool are interested. We know that Saudi Arabian clubs are interested in. So this is the moment to get this deal done. This is the moment where we have to strike. So fingers crossed it happens today. Obviously, we are waiting still for Donny van de Beek to leave the club. That's gone completely quiet. I'm not going to sit here and give you false hope. There has been no stories about Donny van de Beek. None. Zero. The last story was 2 or 3 days ago saying that apparently Real Sociedad are still in talks. I mean, what the hell are they talking about? It's a loan. What are they negotiating? Like, a loan. It's not like they're buying him. What are they expecting us to do? Send him a box of chocolates or something alongside it? They're trying to negotiate whether he can bring over some gifts with him or something. I just don't understand it. It completely is beyond me how a loan move can be so complicated. Like, are they not willing to pay any of his wages? What's the situation? Like, nobody knows. Very, very annoying. But the other possibility, just to give you the full picture, is McTominay. Now, McTominay, I think, is a more likely option. And the reason I think this is because West Ham have just had a €42 million bid rejected by Ajax for Mohamed Kudus. Let me read out the story for you here. So Fabrizio Romano is reporting Ajax have just rejected a new 42 million offer from West Ham for Mohamed Kudus. Now, my question to you is, do West Ham pull out of the race to sign Mohamed Kudus and come back to Scott McTominay? 42 million euros is around 36 million pounds. I think Manchester United would accept that. Obviously, we rejected a 30 million pound bid a couple of weeks ago. I think 36 million pounds would be enough to get the McTominay deal done. Do you think that that's enough? Let me know in the comment section. But also, does this now open the door for us to go and knock on Ajax's door and say, we want Mohamed Kudus, we'll give you 50 million euros, let's do the deal. I think it does. And there's a really interesting story that came out last night saying that apparently Erik ten Hag is demanding another attacking player because he was expecting Mason Greenwood back at the club. What do you think about that one? Do you think he's within his right? I think he is. He was been told all summer that Mason Greenwood's going to come back. It got leaked to the press and then they backtrack on their decision. He's been planning for the season with having Mason Greenwood as an option, and now that's just been taken away from him. He needs another attacking player. If Pellistri's going to go to Sheffield United, which we will talk about in a minute, Amad Diallo's injured, Sancho, Martial, what options do we really have? Rasmus Højlund, Garnacho, Antony, and Rashford, and Sancho. We've got 5 people, really. Martial, you can't rely on. He's injury prone. You've got 5 players to fill 3 positions, and you're going to be playing probably 70 matches this season. Obviously, Amad Diallo will be back at some point, but we don't know when. I think he's out for 2 or 3 months. So we are really, really limited in those forward positions. Obviously, if Pellistri was staying, maybe we wouldn't need one. But it does look like Pellistri will be going out on loan. So we 100% need to go and get another attacking player. And I think it's right that Erik ten Hag is demanding this replacement for Greenwood. I really, really do, because we're going to really, really struggle if we go into the season without it. If we all probably in this chat think we need another striker. Do we need another winger? Some of you in the chat don't like Antony. Some of you don't like Sancho. Is there anybody in the attacking line that anybody is 100% confident with at the moment? I don't think so. I think Rashford on the left is a sure starter. But other than that, Rasmus Højlund hasn't even kicked a ball yet. Garnacho probably isn't ready to start every single game. Antony, probably 90% of you in this chat don't even want. It doesn't look particularly good, does it? So I can understand why Erik ten Hag is demanding this striker or attacking player, because now that Greenwood's out of the picture, he's lost a massive, massive part of his plan there. I will read out some of your questions as well in a minute, so do get your questions in if you want me to answer anything. So in relation to Mohamed Kudus, he can play centre forward, centre attacking mid, and right wing. So he gives us lots of different options, and I think he would be probably the best option at this moment in time, just because of his versatility. He can go up front, he can go on the right, he can go in centre attacking mid. So he gives us lots of different options. But let's talk about Pellistri really, really quickly. So in relation to Pellistri, he looks set to go to Sheffield United on loan. It hasn't been fully confirmed yet, but it looks like he will be leaving in the next couple of days, and he will definitely be gone before the end of the transfer window. Now, going back to that other point I just made, the only way I see Pellistri going is if we're bringing in someone else in that area. I see no reason to let Pellistri go, knowing that Mason Greenwood's not coming back and knowing that Amad Diallo's injured. That's 3 attacking players that Erik ten Hag was expecting to have in his team this season, gone. What happens if Rashford gets injured? What do you do then? You've literally got Garnacho, Højlund, and Antony. And then you have Sancho as the backup. That's it. And Martial. Do you see what I mean? I actually think we're quite thin in the attacking areas. And even our best attacking players aren't scoring goals, which has to be a concern for Erik. It really, really does. I don't understand the Pellistri loan. I really, really don't. I think it's very, very strange. But obviously, I'm not the Manchester United manager. I trust Erik ten Hag. I assume they've spoken to his family, to the player himself, and they've agreed that that's the best move for him. Right, so we've got some breaking news coming out, guys. This has completely thrown me, and it's a big one. So there's a story coming out from L'Equipe in France, which is obviously it's the biggest French outlet, 6.6 million followers on Twitter, and they're reporting that Manchester United and Nice are in the final stage of negotiations for Jean-Clair Todibo, and it goes on to say that Jean-Clair Todibo is now near a move to Manchester United. What does this mean? I mean, obviously that's great. That's amazing news. If we get Jean-Clair Todibo, I'm going to be really, really happy. But does that mean that Lindelof's going? Does it mean Maguire's going? Somebody has to be going. They can't be signing Jean-Clair Todibo when we can't even buy Amrabat. That's the bit that's not making sense here. Somebody has to be leaving the club. Is it going to be Maguire? Was he not really ill on the weekend? Was it all just a big illusion to try and I don't know. We don't know the answers to this at the moment, but this story is literally just broken in the last kind of 10 or so minutes. And it's been reporting by lots and lots of different journalists now. So I would probably say that this is Harry Maguire leaving the club. Obviously, that's just my opinion at this stage. It hasn't been confirmed, but he didn't play on the weekend. He's clearly not part of Erik ten Hag's plans. He didn't play the first game of the season. He wasn't in the squad on Saturday. He has to be going. He has to be. How does everybody feel about Jean-Clair Todibo? I think he'd be a quality signing. I really, really do. This is now being reported by about 5 or 6 different outlets. We're bringing this to you right now live. So anybody watching back on repeat, yeah, that's why it's maybe getting a little bit excited, let's say. So we've got Liquip reporting it. We've also got Football 365. We've got GFFN on Twitter. We're just waiting for one of the big hitters. We're waiting for a Fabrizio. We're waiting for David Ornstein. Another story coming out here. Apparently the deal is worth £40 million. It says Jean-Clair Todibo is near a move to Manchester United. The Frenchman is valued at around 40 million euros, not pounds. So that's about, let me have a look how much that is in pounds for you quickly. It's about £34 million. I mean, if you sell Harry Maguire for 30 and you bring in Jean-Clair Todibo for 34, that is an incredible bit of business. And you know what? I would say hats off to John Murtough and Richard Arnold. I'm not quick to point the finger. You know, I give people time. And if they manage to get this deal over the line, if they manage to get rid of Harry Maguire and they bring in this player, honestly, massive, massive shouts to them. Somebody in the chat's asking if he can play at CDM. So no, he can only play at centre-back. He's a right-sided centre-back. That's his best position. Who do you think's leaving, though? Let me know in the comments section. Who do you think is leaving? Is it Harry Maguire? Is there a big bid coming in for Raphael Varane? Let me know what your thoughts are. I think it has to be Maguire. There's no other option. I did not believe for a second that he was injured on Saturday. Sorry, I didn't. Obviously, Samuel Luckhurst broke the news on Friday that Harry Maguire was not in the squad for the game on Saturday. And then on Saturday, Erik ten Hag or somebody tells us he was injured. I think it's rubbish. I don't believe it for a second. I think he's being forced out of the club. Erik ten Hag says something in a press conference when really he means something else. We all know that. We all read Erik ten Hag like a book now. He said that he wanted Ronaldo, he got rid of him. He said he wanted David De Gea, he got rid of him. He said in his press conference last week that he wanted Harry Maguire to stay and he was happy that he was staying. But anybody who watched that press conference and saw the way that Erik ten Hag said it, he looked absolutely fuming. He did not look like a happy man. He wasn't there like, oh, I'm so happy Harry's staying. I love Harry. He's great. He was like, yes, I'm happy Harry Maguire is staying. And he literally looked like he was going to kill someone. He looked so upset about it. So, yeah, let me know how you feel about this one. Do you think it was happen? Yeah, some people in the chat are saying, I reckon Varane's leaving. You never know with Manchester United, right? We can all sit here this morning feeling positive. Okay, great. Jean-Clair Todibo looks like he's going to come. Harry Maguire must be going. And then next thing you know, we'll see Fabrizio put up a tweet saying that Varane's going. You know, you just never know, do you, in football? Anything can happen. Stranger things have happened before. I'm just going to see if there's any other journalists reporting this story really, really quickly. Whilst I do that, please do smash a like on the video and please do subscribe to the channel if you're new. Obviously, this is a developing story, so it does always cause a little bit of excitement whilst we're live. So let me just have a look who else is reporting this story in the last hour. Obviously, we spoke about Liquip. We spoke about a couple of other journalists in France. Yeah, I mean, it's mainly French outlets at the moment. Mainly French outlets. Somebody in the chat saying he's going to go to Everton. I don't think Maguire would go to Everton. I mean, if he does, maybe. They did just get absolutely battered, didn't they? By who was it? By Aston Villa. I think he'd do well at Everton. I do. What about this one? We've got a new name for Manchester United. Everybody who watched the show last night. Nearing a Move FC. So we had Interesting FC. And now we've got Nearing a Move FC. Right, I'm going to read out a couple of your questions now, actually. If you do have a question, do get it in the live chat now. Put the letter Q in front of your message. And I will read some out before the show ends. Sean says Maguire has to be leaving. He won't get any minutes at Old Trafford and the fans will crucify him if he steps foot on Old Trafford's pitch, putting his own selfish, egotistical reasons ahead of the club and holding us back. 100% Sean, that's the comment of the day. That's exactly my feelings towards it. The Manchester United fans have lost all love for Harry Maguire. Any little tiny bit of love that was there for him is gone. He lost that the second he refused to leave the club. The second he tried to hold us ransom for £10 million in order for him to leave. You know, he's already a multi-millionaire. He's already earned a ridiculous amount of money at Manchester United. So I get it. Sean says, Andy Burnham, the mayor of Manchester, is from Liverpool. How is that even allowed? Do you think it's a surprise he's not happy about Qatar? No, not at all, mate. I don't. King Stash says, can we play Ten Hag football with a midfield of Bruno, Mount and Casemiro? It's not possible because they can't control the ball. No, I agree with you, mate. I do. I don't think that midfield works whatsoever. Joe says, Kieran, do you think that our training facilities and even the atmosphere needs a lot of improvement as to boost up the morales of the players to be training in world-class training grounds? Mate, 100%. 1,000%. I said this on a video months ago. I said that just because Sheikh Jassim comes in, we're not going to be winning Champions Leagues and Premier Leagues for probably 3 to 5 years, I think. Call me negative, call me whatever you want. But the reason for that is the whole environment behind the scenes needs to change. We need a new training ground. We need a new stadium. We need new scouts. We need a new director of football, a new CEO. So much stuff has to happen. And that's not going to happen overnight. Manchester City didn't just suddenly become amazing. They sorted out all the stuff behind the scenes. And then they built the foundations, and then now they are how they are. We don't have the foundations at the moment. So we're not just going to get taken over by Sheikh Jassim and suddenly be winning the Premier League. It won't happen, I promise you. Obviously, I want the Glazers to go, but that just simply won't happen. As Joe says in the comments, we need to we need to sort out everything behind the scenes. We really, really do. What else have we got? Stefan says, what points total needed to get top 4/top 5? I think 70 points is usually the kind of level that we need to be aiming for. Around 70 points, I think, will get you top 4 this season. Somebody was saying that it's not 5th place gets Champions League this season. If anybody knows for certain, let me know in the comments. But some people tell me that it is that. Some people tell me it's not. And I can't really get a clarity on it. Comeback King says, is there any news on Martial going to Saudi? Nothing about Anthony Martial at the moment. It's completely quiet. And I said, you know what? I said this to you yesterday. Call me what you want. Say that I'm being controversial. Anthony Martial, the little glimpses we've seen of him in the last 2 games, he looks like our best attacking player. He looks like the only one who can actually play the type of football Erik ten Hag wants to play. The rest of them just look like headless chickens. They get the ball, they run, they lose it, and then that's kind of all that's happened, isn't it? So, you know what? If Anthony Martial can stay fit, I say keep him. I think we need him. I think he's a quality player. I think he's somebody who is way more tactically developed than the others. I think he's a team player. I think his hold-up play is good. So, at the moment, there's no news about Anthony Martial, but obviously I will keep you updated as and when. The Victorus says, who do we realistically expect to come in / leave before the end of the window? Okay, cool. We can do that quickly. So people I think are going to leave: Brandon Williams, Eric Bailly, Donny van de Beek, Harry Maguire, Dean Henderson. How many is that? 5. I think those 5, and Pellistri on loan. I think those 6 players will leave. I think incomings will get this goalkeeper, Altay Bayinda from Fenerbahce. I think we'll get Ryan Gravenberch on loan. I think we'll buy an attacking player. I don't know who. Mohamed Kudus, Taremi, Gift Orban, someone like that. And then I think maybe we'll get Amrabat. It might be Amrabat or Gravenberch. I would say we're gonna make 2 or 3 more signings, I think. The backup goalkeeper, a midfielder, and an attacker. Obviously, we've had this story about Jean-Clair Todibo, but until it comes out from Fabrizio, I'm not going to be running and screaming around saying that Harry Maguire is leaving the club. I'm still trying to get more information on it, but yeah, I mean, they're saying... Yeah, anyway, right, let's read out a couple more questions. Mark Jones says, what about Osimhen? All the talk of the season was we would be looking at buying him. He scores 2 on the first game back, and we've not heard anything since. So Victor Osimhen's going to cost you 150 million. That's how much they want for him. Napoli want 150 million euros for Victor Osimhen. That's pretty much our whole budget for this summer. Now, if I'd have told you this, right? Let me just throw the spanner in the works because I like to get you guys' opinions. If I'd have said at the beginning of the window, we didn't sign Højlund, we didn't sign Mason Mount, and we didn't sign Onana, right? And we spent all of our budget to this point on Victor Osimhen and we capped David De Gea, would you have done it? Let me know in the comment section. That is a really difficult question. So I think so far we've spent 170 million, haven't we? Pounds. So what's that? About 180 million euros. So just to make the question fair, you get Victor Osimhen and you have 30 million euros left to spend on another player versus what our transfer window's been so far. What would you have done? Obviously, David De Gea would have also stayed as the goalkeeper. You know what? I reckon I would have gone for Victor Osimhen. I genuinely do. I would have rather had Victor Osimhen plus 30 million euros left in the bank to maybe say go and get Amrabat and kept David De Gea than signed Onana, Højlund and Mason Mount. That's my opinion. Let me know what you would rather have done. I think Osimhen would have completely changed everything. Hopefully Mason Mount comes good. Hopefully Rasmus Højlund turns into a world-class striker. But there's a lot of hopefullys there. It's not a hopefully with Victor Osimhen. He's world-class. I mean, if you actually think about it, you could have got Victor Osimhen and Onana for about £180 million, right? That's how much we've spent on Onana, Mount and Højlund. So let's change it, right? Okay, let's change that argument. You can have Victor Osimhen and Onana for the same amount of money as Højlund, Onana and Mount. What do you go for? There you go. I mean, that pretty much says it, isn't it? Onana and Osimhen for the same amount as what we've spent this window. Right, I'll read out a couple more questions before we end the video. We've got a couple more minutes left. Stephanie says, Kieran, what do you think about a Donny loan swap with Gravenberch? I can't see Donny going to Bayern Munich. He wouldn't get any game time at all. Yeah, as Chris says in the chat, Onana plus Osimhen would cost you 170 million. Exactly. That was what my point was. I got a bit muddled up with the words, but we could have got Osimhen and Onana for the same amount of money as what we've spent on Højlund, Onana and Mount. I would have definitely rather done that. I would have. But anyway, it is what it is. Let's just hope that the people we have signed come good. So Peter in the chat is saying, the Quip are reporting that Jean-Clair Todibo is nearing a move to Manchester United. The Frenchman is reportedly valued at 40 million euros. Todibo has been touted as a Harry Maguire replacement. Yeah, we'll keep you updated on the Jean-Clair Todibo situation, guys. But at the moment, I think it is just paper talk. Carl says, why do we have a medical team if they can't get Martial in shape and don't be made as glass? Maybe it's time for a new medical team as well. Well, you know what? We did actually just get a new doctor. We've just got a new head doctor from Arsenal, who's apparently one of the best doctors in the Premier League. He was sought after by lots of other clubs. So hopefully he comes in and hopefully he sorts everything out. Whether that will happen or not, I'm not too sure, but we'll have to wait and see. Nani says, Donny must stay. We need him because Bruno is rubbish. Okay. Mila says, why haven't a single club made a bid for Osimhen this year? Saudi club has made a bid for Osimhen. 150 million they offered, I think it was. But he didn't want to go. I reckon Chelsea are going to come in for him. Yeah, so Al Hilal offered £120.3 million for Victor Osimhen. That was on the 31st of July, which is and apparently Napoli were asking for 150 million euros, which is about 128 million pounds. So a Saudi club did go into the race for Victor Osimhen. Right. This feels like a good place to wrap up the video, guys. Thank you so much to everybody who has watched the show this morning. We will, of course, be back later on today. We'll be back at about 6 p.m. for our usual evening show. Obviously, if anything breaks during the day, if we get any updates on the takeover, if we get any updates on Jean-Clair Todibo, we will go live. So do make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell. And please do smash a like on the video on your way out. Thank you so much for watching today. I hope you have a lovely morning, day or evening wherever you are in the world. And I'll speak to you all later.